You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
You know what they put in the water, don't you? Fluoride. On the pretext that it strengthens your teeth. That's ridiculous.
There are some strange things about the Rio 2016 Olympics. Now, I don't know if anyone saw the opening ceremony. I did catch some of it, but to be honest, after a while I just looked at it and thought, you know, this is just organised chaos. This looks like it's been thrown together at the last minute, and I kind of gave up after a while because of that. But some of the things that were going on in there, though, at some certain points just didn't feel right to me. I don't know if you saw this part where it looked like a black void opened up in the stage, and we had these shapes being formed by like entities, and it was exactly, I tell you what, it was exactly like that CERN production. Do you remember that weird production they made about CERN, where they had these shapes forming in the black void, like in the abyss? And that, it really didn't feel right to me, and this thing started coming up on the stage in Rio, and I was like, and actually it's pretty interesting because the Olympic flame, the Olympic torch itself, is in the middle of this sun wheel, which they keep showing, you know, every now and then on the Olympics. Just the Olympic flame, you know, is in this Shiva-looking sun wheel, which spins like a solar system around the sun. Really weird, completely new age, you know, like the Zoroaster fire worship. Looks very similar. This the Olympic torch this year is completely different. It's like a smaller version, but they've built this thing around the edge, which the creator of that structure around it has actually admitted that it represents the sun.
The Olympic Committee did not specify the exact design that they wanted me to make. They gave me fairly free rein. We went through several iterations. What we finally decided on was something that is most like the sun in its pulsing energy and reflectivity of light. Something that is most like the sun in its pulsing energy and reflectivity of light.
So this is tying into this whole pagan sun worship, and as my friend pointed out, that fire is the sun on earth to them, to the pagans, which represents the seed or zera in Hebrew, which points to Nimrod and Tammuz. No surprise there, considering the whole Olympics is around a big statue of Tammuz, the false Christ, in the shape of a T on the top of a hill in Rio. And speaking of the elements and the elemental forces and how pagans worship these things, the creation over the creator. So we have a lot surrounding fire as per usual, but you know, even the colour scheme of the Rio Olympics logo is representing earth, wind, fire, earth, water and fire. And that is essentially what witchcraft is, you know, the manipulation of elemental forces. So yeah, totally pagan. And something I do find really strange is in the Rio 2016 logo, if you flip it on its side, you can see a subliminal reference in the 2016 to, firstly, the Leo astrological symbol, which I guess we're in August, and also to the what looks like the Capricorn astrological symbol. And it's pretty undeniable that these things are there and this occult world exists, and that these are pagan rituals, pagan worship ceremonies, and that the symbols are everywhere, the agendas, the same agendas are everywhere. It just makes you think, you know, why do they do some of this stuff? Well, it's because the spiritual world exists, and these people are occultists and there's involvement at high levels with Luciferians, pagans, theosophists, Frankists, Zionists, as we saw in the 2012 Olympics, the whole Zionist ritual that went on there with the rise of the Phoenix in London. And I'm going to cut to the chase here. Solomon's Temple, an exact replica of Solomon's Temple, has been built very close to one of the main sites of the Olympics in Sao Paulo, and yet I haven't seen one mention across the media or any coverage, you know, as they show the monuments, the local cultures, and say they want to big up, express what Brazil is about and the surrounding areas, and show all of the monuments. I've not seen one mention of the Temple of Solomon, which is a huge building standing at 55 meters and stone imported from Israel. This thing is huge, and there's no, if not minimal, mention in the press. I've seen one article in the past which was kind of a subtle blasphemy at the same time in the way that it was worded. But throughout this entire coverage of the Rio Olympics, do you not think that's strange that they've not even mentioned or shown this huge structure? What is going on? You know, you'd have thought they'd want to at least show it off. Turn the camera slightly to the left so you can see this huge illuminated temple of Templo de Solomeo in Sao Paulo. Considering, you know, the problems that have been there recently with the funding and everything, this, you'd think, is something that they would want to show off. But nope. The lack of media coverage of the Temple of Solomon really makes one wonder, you know, why are they not talking about it? Why are they not promoting or publicizing this to the world?
Stone imported from Israel will line the walls, floors, and the altar. Plans for this temple were drawn up in 2010, but will be ready for use in 2014, which is coming up in just a few months. So construction workers are busy at work doing everything they can to have it ready in time for the grand opening this summer.
Now, of course, another agenda that's going on with this being in Brazil is climate change and green earth, go green, which I guess is kind of inevitable because it's in Brazil with the Amazon rainforest and that particular area of the world, the Vatican stronghold. But we are seeing over and over, both overtly and covertly, this green earth climate change agenda. You see these symbols, these runes flashing up, this broken Nero's cross, which is very anti-Christian, the crow's foot. You know, and it has got a lot of connections to like Nazism, Anton LaVey, Satanism. When it's flipped upside down, it's not the peace symbol, it's actually supposed to be to do with death. But this is completely anti-Christian in itself. It is a broken cross. It's Nero's cross. these symbols here, this broken Nero's cross, crow's foot, when pointing upwards, because it's like the peace sign this that flashed up here, but when pointing upwards, it's actually a symbol to do with fertility. So again, that birth of the new earth. There are some pretty unnerving things happening in the world as we speak. Some difficult times ahead, perhaps. But above all, trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, who fills us with his strength and peace and salvation, that the more we see these things coming, the more our hope grows that we'll be going home to be with him in a better place, and all because of what he did when he came to this earth. And he's the most controversial figure to these people. They do not like Jesus Christ because they are trying to usher in the false Christ, the Antichrist, and this new age of deception. You know, the stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone, and it is marvellous in our eyes. Well, hello everyone, good evening. We just had the Super Bowl over there in the United States, and I've kind of watched this Lady Gaga performance a few times, and I mean, at surface value, like I've seen other people say, it doesn't seem as bad because there wasn't so much of the open, obvious symbolism that people look for. I mean, it's quite worrying when you really do start to see what it's showing, which is this very same thing that we see time and time again of this Antichrist androgynous figure. You know, where else have we seen this very same thing recently? This Rolling Stone magazine cover, Paris Jackson, this Antichrist figure, it looks very similar to Lady Gaga there, but this androgynous aspect, the symbolism with her hand, the false Christ symbolism, rolling stone, like the stone that rolled away from the tomb. So this is the same thing. So Lady Gaga is essentially playing Lucifer. But let's have a look at some of the stuff in here. I mean, it opened up where she's singing God Bless America, and she's singing on top of the stadium. I think this was made by drones. This is representing the 1,000 points of light in their symbolism. Lucifer in the heavens, like the Bible says, I will raise my throne above the stars of God. We've got the red and the blue symbolism, the two pillars of Freemasonry. So it's talking about this Hegelian land, because if we know anything, we know that the Freemasonry, the symbolism like the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, the secret societies that have been involved in America and all of those things. So really, you know, when she's speaking about God here, the god of Freemasonry is Lucifer. But this whole thing is that same, I mean, she's playing that mother goddess Isis. She's playing that Isis figure, and you can see that same split between the demiurge, the Gnostics' belief, the lesser god, and this female god. Because some of the songs she sings are actually kind of about that, which we'll get onto in a second. So what does she do? She starts off up here, and then she falls. She falls. She's cast out. She goes down. She's cast out from the stars, just like in the book of Revelation. She's cast down into the stadium. I mean, this is what this is showing, yeah? The fall of Lucifer. I mean, yeah, it's, to me, it's just crazy. And then she comes on this tower, like this tower of what do you call it in Lord of the Rings? That dark tower in Lord of the Rings, in that hellish place, was it Mordor? And you see that everything that was like an eye on the top, she's on the top. She's on the top. Well, Lucifer is on the top. And you see that everything changes at this stage. In the stadium, it all goes very smoky, like hellish. I'm on the edge of glory. Think about the lyrics and what they mean. Everything turns red. You see there? I can't play it too long because of obvious reasons. YouTube's very difficult these days, but so you get all this smoke of the pit, you get the red hellish symbolism. She's on top of that tower. I mean, look at this. So she's come from that top with 1,000 points of light up in the stars, and she's cast down into the stadium, and everything turns red and hellish and smoky like Mordor, like hell. She is on the tower, and suddenly the atmosphere's changed, and she's like in this kingdom of hell, and she's on the tower. What I see going on here, I mean, you see the stars. I mean, yes, that looks like a pentagram that's half buried or whatever, but and the pillars in the background. But look, this is like a dimensional plane. This is a dimensional plane. I saw someone say that it was a checkerboard floor. I mean, maybe they have links to that, but this is not essentially what this is representing. This is representing a dimensional thing, because this is a spiritual thing. This is about Lucifer, the Antichrist, planes of existence, the fall of Lucifer being cast out from the stars, because she was singing about God when she was up in the stars, right? Before she was cast down. So she was singing about God, remember? And then she was cast down to the earth. And through these planes of existence, you see all of this going on, so you can see that it's a spiritual planes of existence. I mean, but if you listen to every song she sings, like about a poker face, which is essentially lying. A poker face is a false front. I was born this way. I mean, go and listen to it sometime. Listen to the song she's singing. Listen to the words she's saying. That she's playing. Remember, she's playing this androgynous Antichrist figure. This hybrid figure. And she wears a lot of stuff in it that is very similar to what the Bible describes with the precious stones. There's one costume, Gon Shimera said about one of the costumes is very similar to the Bible's description of Lucifer before the fall and all of this. So she's playing that Antichrist Lucifer figure. Sophia, the bringer of wisdom, the fall of light, all of those things, and this is their hope, you know. But this is the main reason for doing this video, is to warn you that this charismatic figure is representing a great deception that many people in this world are falling for already, because you can see how people are flocking to it. So when the real thing comes upon this earth that poses as light, it looks good, that is a great deception, because many will fall for it. So you see, this is like a fractal, planes of existence, dimensional, cracking open of the matrix. This represents the same thing. You see the smashed glass behind her head. That's the cracking open of the matrix, the cracking of the veil, the dimensional veil, coming through the dimensional veil. So this is the costume, yeah. I mean, the adorned in this gold and silver and precious stones. So this thing looks, to the eye, looks you know, very good, which is the great deception. Caught in a bad romance. Okay, yeah, the last moments of this performance of caught in a bad romance is very reminiscent of this, you know, Gnosticism, this belief and religion that they have. They basically believe about this bad romance between the demiurge and the mother figure. But when it comes down to it, when it really comes down to it, this, to make it simple, this is the Lucifer figure. This is Lucifer, this is the devil, singing to the real God in heaven, the real creator, about this so-called bad romance, that they've fallen out of love and all of this. If you listen to some of the lyrics that she's saying in it, you really, caught in a bad romance, you really get that perspective that this is the devil. It's, you know, sympathy for the devil. If you read the Bible, you'll see that the devil is the father of all lies. The masquerader masquerades as light. So do not get drawn into that. I want your loving and I want your revenge. You and me could write a bad romance. As I say, she's playing that Isis figure. There's a lot of symbolism here, the eye symbolism, and you see here she gets elevated on these two pillars in white. So this whole thing is like the fall of Lucifer, the rebellion against God, coming to earth, being exalted. We see it over and over again. It's this androgynous Antichrist figure. Essentially it is the Baphomet when it's androgynous, you know, but it all comes down to the same thing, that this is the devil masquerading and being worshipped as God. So just to warn you through this, that, you know, this alien Antichrist figure from a different dimension coming to the earth is being shown over and over again, and for all intent it looks good. So I'd really ask those people who do make these videos very quickly of the Super Bowl, look deeper into what we should be warning people about, not just saying there's pentagrams, because who does it help? The goal of us being here is to help people to understand and to be warned, not just to draw in the crowds and tell them to, you know, look at witchcraft and admire how prevalent it is, because we need to actually help people, and especially not insulting people like Lady Gaga. You know, much as I don't agree with what Lady Gaga does in her performances, we are all sinners and we all fall short of the glory of God, and she can be saved. So let's pray for Lady Gaga. Let's not call her names. You know, that is, Jesus never told us to call other people names, even if they are our enemy. We're supposed to pray for them. So thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon. God bless.
Oh yeah. Tractor beam. Suck me right in.